everybody. It's Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What time is it for? Creative Chat Cafe. Well, I'm Zef Zan, your host for Creative Chat Cafe. Welcome. As you can see, it's a different setup in the back because I am traveling on the road. And you know what? I found this in my girlfriend's apartment. It says, keep calm. Let me see. Keep calm and carry on. And that's what I'm going to do because we have a great, interesting topic for today. And as you can see, I have two other people on this hangout, and you're probably familiar with our regular co-host, Super Julie Braun. So Julie, welcome back. It's so interesting to see you again. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you, Zef. So good to see you too. Even though it's virtually,
Yes.
I want to give you a hug. So here's my virtual hug. I have to get my hands.
Hug.
There we go.
And of course, Julie, we're really excited because we have a special guest with us today on the topic that we both actually were introduced to like about a year ago, right?
Crowdfunding, we've known about this for a while, but the idea of what our guest does is really awesome. So I cannot wait. Let's get to him.
Yes. So before we get started, real quick, I will show you on the bottom of my screen the hashtag for the show, which is hashtag Creative Chat Cafe, and watch us every Wednesdays, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on entrepreneursthatsoar.com. And let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is just do a little bit of introduction. Julie, why don't you get started?
Sure thing. So I'm Super Julie Braun. I'm the co-founder of superinterns.com, and what we do is we help companies and interns come together and make magic. We also help the interns get amazing internships. We help businesses grow. So that's really what we're focused in on.
Yay, thank you so much. Love to have you back here all the time. And today I'm going to attempt this name, and I hope I don't butcher it. So we want to welcome Manolis Spinarolakis from Reality Crowd TV. Now, did I say that right, Manolis?
You said it perfectly. I mean, for the first time having to even say it, it's amazing you did it so well.
So go ahead, Manolis. Tell our audience what you do in your company, a little bit of introduction about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Manolis Spinarolakis, the founder of Reality Crowd TV Media Corporation. And our mission really is to inform, educate, inspire, and motivate entrepreneurs worldwide to start small businesses through crowdfunding and provide them a blueprint on how to crowdfund. So really, we really are a media company. We help entrepreneurs raise capital through the internet, and we have our own Google Hangout on Air show with our Reality Crowd TV channel. So we're just very excited to be on here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us today. So folks, three things, the regular things that we do on our show. We're going to get started with just discussing the topic for today, which is getting started with crowdfunding. And of course, we cannot leave you without giving you any tips. And we've got a story at the end just to make it your inspirational resource. So today the topic, getting started with crowdfunding. Many of you may not have heard the term. It's pretty new, but it's a new trend that's up and coming about funding projects or ventures by raising money from a large group of people. I actually first was introduced to this topic by Miss Julie, Super Julie right here, and it's quickly becoming a favorite option among entrepreneurs and small businesses. But the question of crowdfunding is, how do you do it? What is it? How many people are successful at it? That is why we have the expert here, Manolis, with us here today to kind of give a little bit information about crowdfunding. And so we're really excited. So let's get started, Manolis. What is crowdfunding? I mean, it may be new to many of our audience out there, but what is it really?
So it is a term that's being used a lot. It's become a very big buzzword out there. But if you want to take it from the very basic levels, if no one's heard about it, I like to explain it this way. Take the concept passing around the basket at church, where a group of people contribute to an individual with a need.
Yes.
put that concept online, apply it to things other than charities such as small business, art, music, and film, and you have crowdfunding. So essentially, it's a way for a small business or a project creator to gain, favor from their crowd or their tribe of followers to really create something that's never existed previously, and it's really sweeping the nation and the world at this point. It's a wonderful phenomenon.
I love how you visually put that right out there. Here's the basket, here do church, collect money, kind of bring it online. Thank you for giving us that visual, because many people sometimes need that visual to help them through that, concept. So if somebody wants to start a campaign or a project with crowdfunding, what steps should they take to make the crowdfunding campaign a success?
It's a very good question, and through our expertise and our ability to work with a lot of entrepreneurs lately, we've kind of dialed it down to 9 stages that every crowdfunding campaign eventually goes through. So I mean, they may not be starting at stage 1, but overall there's going to be 9 stages. And so you start with a business plan, you secure your intellectual property, you focus on your social media strategy and your public relations strategy. You then come up with a campaign strategy to say, how am I going to get the word out to the largest group of people possible? And when I say campaign, I like to, liken the crowdfunding project to almost going out and being elected to public office. People are going to vote with their wallets, so to speak. So you have to make sure this is a campaign, and campaigns usually take 3 to 6 months of pre-planning. So that was stage 5. Next stage is networking and team building. No one can do anything alone. So what we're doing today is networking. And if any of you ever have anyone who's going to run a campaign, or if you guys are going to run a campaign as well, we just created a team to do this. Stage 7 is website development. Stage 8 is profile and video. And finally, stage 9 would be fulfillment. How are you going to ensure that you deliver on the promises you're making when you're launching your crowdfunding campaign?
Those are all great steps. And Julie, I remember the first time I heard about crowdfunding from you, and I really thought, and I think many of our audience can relate out there, because the first time you hear crowdfunding, you're like, what in the world is crowdfunding? And then when we say, it's very social media driven, there's, a way for you to tell your story, get people to give you money, you don't have to pay back, which is very important. And then the fact that everybody thinks they can go out and start a campaign, and now here Manolis tells us that's a 9-step process to, creating this crowdfunding project or crowdfunding campaign. But Julie, what are some of the questions I'm sure you yourself have for Manolis?
Yeah, well, first of all, Manolis, thank you so much for breaking down those 9 categories, because that is awesome. Because I think a lot of times people do think, oh, this is a breeze, I can do this on my own, and they really don't understand that it does take a big amount of time and planning and understanding of what all of the different categories are. So generous of you to share that. Thank you.
No problem.
Yay!
And I also think, people are coming from the place of, well, it's always about making money. So I'm going to get my idea funded. But there's other things that happen with crowdfunding. Could you share what some of the other benefits are beyond making money if you do have a successful campaign?
Sure. And so, of course, the main reason is they need the capital to do and live their dream. That's the obvious part. But as you mentioned, there are other benefits. And so one of the biggest benefits, in my opinion, is it forces people to be early adopters of social media and public relations type skills. So it's a great way to learn business skills that not only will be great for you to learn during your campaign, but you're going to take those skills and those business lessons and apply them to other ventures that you might be thinking of doing in the future. So that's a very important benefit. But perhaps the most important benefit of all is the ability to prove that your concept has consumer demand. So it's almost crowdfunding can almost be a mechanism to prove your concept. And so if you haven't been able to get if you're an entrepreneur who has a product that an angel investor or a venture capitalist might be interested in, these individuals might say to you, listen, it's a great concept, but you got to prove it to me. Prove that this actually has the potential that you say it does. And if they can go on a crowdfunding campaign and prove it to them by physical people buying the product or service ahead of time, suddenly you become a lot more attractive to any investor who might want to invest in your startup afterwards.
Manolis, you said something that made me think of, that show Shark Tank?
Yes.
I have yet to see anybody talk about crowdfunding and getting proof from crowdfunding on that show yet. But I think that is a genius way of really proving to other people, like, look, I've got 1,000 people who put money into my campaign, that they believe in this. I just think that is such a great added benefit. I had never even thought of that, so thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So I'm wondering, in your estimation, what is the time investment that people put into these campaigns, is it really worth it? Because you talk about 3 to 6 months, it might even take 9 months or a year to really do this well. Do you feel like it's worth the time?
Well, I mean, if you ask an entrepreneur who is 100% committed and passionate, and they call this their baby, they call their startup their baby, it's worth it. It's worth it. If you're fully committed and you believe 100% and you love it and you're passionate, by far it's worth the time. But if you're not 100% all in when you do this, I would recommend that you don't do it at all, because it is, as you mentioned, an immense time investment. It's stressful. It's disruptive to your private life. You have to really go out there and put yourself out there, and it is like you're a politician. You really have to be out there getting the message out, and a lot of people are not very public people, and they're forced to become public and learn the skills necessary to be able to market their cause, their project, or their business effectively. So, I mean, if you're not 100% all in, don't put yourself through the stress, because it is a very, time-intensive and stressful endeavor.
Yeah, and the fact that it's just like anything else. It's a project. It's a campaign. You have to put your time and effort into it. It's just not about, hey, create the campaign, share it in social media, and hope that it goes by itself. Just like what you just mentioned earlier, Manolis, there's this 9-step process to creating a crowdfunding project. So in getting started, what are some of your tips in helping our audience out there who's probably thinking, hey, I have a product here, I just need a little bit more seed money to go from the idea and then go into production or manufacturing. What are some of your tips to help them get started with creating a great crowdfunding project or campaign?
Sure, and one of the things that I like to do is learn from others. So a lot of my material is because I've had good mentors. So in fact, I actually do not like to consider myself an expert. I just like to consider myself an organizer of information.
Well, you're an expert in our book.
I like to organize information and break it down in layman's terms, because with an industry so new, people are speaking above everyone's head. But I have a gift to really explain it in terms that anyone can understand. So what someone told me to do when I first was going through this process, they said, listen, don't recreate the wheel. Chances are someone has done a project exactly like yours, except calling it something different. You should look at the past successes and failures of campaigns that were similar to yours and use that as a baseline of how you have to be in order to actually succeed, as far as what the appearance and the video quality and the types of rewards. You can get a lot of insight just by reviewing past success and failures. And success leaves clues, failures leaves blatant clues. That right there is a great place to start. The next thing to do is this. I always say this. I think if you go on Twitter and you tweet, or Facebook and you post something, it's not going to break. The social network's not going to break if you just try something. And by the way, everyone is so small when they first go through this. They're so such a small company or startup or an endeavor. If you mess up, nobody's gonna notice. So the point is,
very true.
It's true. They aren't going to know. They're not going to know that you made a big guffaw. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So trial and error, as long as it's done in a safe way, is the best way to learn. You try one thing, you get no results. You try another, you get a lot of results. And it's just a constant experimentation, a growth period for you as a startup and you as an individual. And you really have to look at it as a journey. It's something that will make you a better person if you go out and you give yourself the okay to experiment, and don't be afraid of failure.
Yay! I love the fact that you're reminding people don't be afraid of failure, because that's the one thing that people use an excuse to not get started. So, Julie, at Super Interns, I know one of the things that I see is actually you helping people who are starting these projects, these huge crowdfunding projects. Any questions you may have for Manolis?
I'm wondering, what do you think is most challenging for most companies to get when it comes to having enough help? Because these crowdfunding campaigns do need help. It's one of your 9 things. I'm so glad to see that on there.
Yeah.
What's that thing that they really need to get and understand? So
I'm not sure if this has been said before, but there's a new definition for a startup CEO. A CEO is a chief everything officer.
I love that. Dom. I love that.
And so as the chief everything officer, you're right. There's so many things that have to go on concurrently. These stages are not step by step. It's not like a waterfall. These things have to happen all at once. They have to have progress made at each stage, because if you wait for one, now your timeline's even going even further out than 3 to 6 months.
Right.
So the important thing to, number one, realize is that you can't do it alone. The realization that you can't do it alone is a very important realization. The second realization is this. I either have to exchange time to do this or money if I don't have the time. So if I don't have the time to do it, someone has to do it, or else I'm decreasing my chances of success. And so time, however, doesn't have to be you doing it yourself. Time could be mentorship and inspiring other people to come into your crowd, come into your tribe from your traditional networks. You can inspire others to help you. And with our company, we have someone who's volunteering for our newsletter, someone who's volunteering for our blog postings, someone who's volunteering for our web content. And so it is because they've seen what we've done on our own, but also that's what anyone can do. If you push so far on your own, you have a resume to inspire others to help you. Now to get back to the other side, if you're not good at that, then you will need to find other help if you have a budget. And I think your organization, Julie, sounds amazing, the virtual interns, because what people need to outsource is the day-to-day tasks, and you have to do this every day, that is done on social media, trying to build the audience, create the content, put the material out, engage with the target audience. That stuff could be outsourced by an intern. You could also outsource the public relations work, which is a lot of emailing journalists, bloggers, and media personalities, so that at least at a certain level, until it gets time for them to want to talk to the project creator, that stuff can be outsourced. And so I want to share with people that you don't have to have a huge budget for this, but if you don't have a budget, you have to be a great leader. Otherwise, you might need a budget.
There you go.
Right. It's kind of like you have to have one asset or the other.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned previously that there's like this 30% of your funding you've got to reach at this critical juncture. Can you talk a little bit about that 30% number?
Yes, I'd love to, and that is why these 9 stages exist, because you're really planning all this time before you launch to line up that 30% before you ever launch. You have to feel confident that you've reached enough people before the campaign. You have these emails that of people who said they wanted to contribute. You've had phone calls with people. You've had conversations on social media. You've actually talked to public relations journalists and bloggers, and you've asked them to do what is known as an embargo, which is, here's my campaign, here's my story, do not release it yet, release it within the first week of my project, preferably day 1 or 2. And when you do release it, make sure you put a link to my campaign in the article so that people can see what I'm doing. And so if you've orchestrated this incredible ability to rally a crowd around your project well beforehand, and you've also planned ahead to say, not only are they going to help me reach the first 30%, but how can I have a communications plan in place during the campaign that will keep them engaged throughout? Because it's not just the first 30%. They need to be sharing and contacting and being part of this throughout the campaign. And if you could do that, that's the whole point of the preparation, to hit that 30% mass, because if you get it, then you trigger the algorithms of these websites that are used for crowdfunding, and you want to go on the front page of their website, and that's how you do it, by making a big splash and showing a lot of progress, action, and funding within the first week. It's not a guarantee that if you hit 30% you're going to be on the front page. Nothing's a guarantee, but statistics show that when campaigns have hit 30% of their funding within the first week, 90% of the time they reach the remainder of their goal.
That is remarkable, Manolis, and how generous of you to just give this out to the audience and to say, guess what, everybody, you have your critical 30% already built in prior to your first day online with your campaign. That alone, I think, demonstrates the kind of company that you run, the kind of person that you are. I can tell you right now, I want to work with you. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that information. That is really, really powerful stuff.
Yeah, very powerful. It's a lot of information that you gave us already. And Julie, you and I, we love inspiration. We love to get inspired. And Manolis, if there's a campaign that you've worked on prior to coming on the show, do you have like a referral of or a sample of a successful crowdfunding campaign that you can share with our audience, and how we hope to inspire them so that they'll have an idea of how to start a campaign of their own?
Sure. So I've worked with a few campaigns, and sometimes even a campaign failure turns into a success. And so one of the projects that really stood out to me was my friend Raymond. He's from Connecticut, and he had a product called the Tree Sleeve, which is an environmentally friendly coffee sleeve that you would be able to actually put on a coffee cup so that you could protect yourself so you won't get burned. Every time someone purchased a tree sleeve, he would plant a tree somewhere in the world. It was just a beautiful way to kind of show that even though we're hurting the environment by using trees as the product to protect our hands, his tree sleeve was made from recycled materials, and each time someone sold it, he would plant a tree somewhere in the world. So he put together this crowdfunding campaign, and he asked for $100,000. And so I didn't start with him immediately from the start, but he came to me when he had about $30,000 in funding. And the only thing I could really do for him at that point, because he didn't come to me prior to the 3 to 6 months beforehand, I was able to use my resources and get him a media list of journalists, bloggers, and media personalities, their email and phone number. And I said, Ray, there's nothing I can do really here hands-on, because usually I help people beforehand, but what I can do is, here's a media list, have at it. Here's how you pitch. Here's the template that I would use to pitch these people, and see if you can, based on the traction you had, let's see if you can do it. So from there, he did it. More people came through traditionally. He got some articles, and then I saw it was up to 70,000. So I said, Ray, it looks like you're doing well. He's like, yeah, hopefully we can reach the 100. a week later, I look, and it said funding canceled. And I was like, what? He had about 15 days left. There was a lot of momentum. He would have hit the 100,000. So I said, Ray, why on earth would you cancel your funding at the last minute? You were at the finish line. And he looks at me and he says, Manolis, an angel investor was watching all this go down, and he said to me, Raymond, please cancel your campaign. Here is the $100,000 you need. And by the way, let me introduce you to Starbucks so that we can get your coffee sleeves all over the world.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. It just, Julie, you did the joke. I did. I got goosebumps.
Every hair on my arm is standing at attention like a soldier.
Exactly.
That's
I
amazing.
just have goosebumps all over the place. Oh my God, that is super awesome.
Yeah, I mean, so right now he's having conversations with the angel investor. He's having meetings with Starbucks. I have to check in with him, but you know, it seems to me like the perfect marriage with his socially conscious tree sleeve to be hooked up with one of the largest users of coffee cup sleeves in the world, and it makes a lot of sense.
That is.
Kudos to Raymond. Great story. Great story.
Yes. So that's something that that was something that looked like a failure, but when you dig deep, you understand the power of crowdfunding. I mean, who knows if this angel investor had spoken to Raymond beforehand and said, "Listen, Raymond, I like what you're doing. I'm just not convinced that there's demand for this." And so then he went out and proved it, and the guy said, "Okay, I'm a believer now." And so that's how it works. You use.
That's how powerful it is.
Absolutely.
Telling the story.
You remind me of another story of a company, and it was years back. It was coffee. This is what's bubbling up for me, and I think the name of the company was Coffee. Joulies?
Yes.
Yes. And they created these little metal, they were probably maybe this big, these little metal gems that went into your coffee, and it would keep your coffee at the perfect temperature the longest amount of time.
Wow.
So it wouldn't be too hot because it would cool it down to that perfect temperature, and it would, keep it at that temperature for as long as possible. Well, they started their campaign, and lots of people, pre-bought their product, and I think they wanted like $9,000 or something. In a matter of a month, I think they were close to 300 grand.
Yeah.
And you could kind of see somewhere on like day 3 or day 4, they're all scratching their heads going, what are we going to do with all this money? And the beauty of that, and this is the part where I get a chill again, when there's that social consciousness that comes involved, they went into a city, it's called Silver City. I believe it's in New York area. I could be wrong about that. And they basically went into the city, and they opened up one of the factories that had closed.
Wow.
They put work back into a city. They started hiring employees, and they rejuvenated that city because of their product. And I think that is like another aspect of crowdfunding that very often we don't really know about. We don't really know what all the good can come from what might start off as a great idea. We don't know all the different ways that it can affect other people's lives. But anyway, thank you so much for, again, sharing that story. That is amazing. It's awesome.
You're right too. I mean, one thing I will say is the ability to create something that didn't exist and to bring other people along on that journey, to make it feel like they're part of something greater than them. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, and this isn't about capitalism in the sense of greed and greed at all costs, profit at all costs. Many of the people who are doing this are social entrepreneurs, and they're really trying to change the world for the better. And so, absolutely, Julie, thank you for sharing that story too, because that's beautiful, creating jobs for America. It's great.
Yes. Yay! wow, I mean, I'm just amazed at the amount of information that we have covered so far. And you know, if we had more time, we could go on and on and on. But you know what, folks? We're going to give you information on how you can connect with Manolis after the show. Of course, social media, you'll have it on the blog page where you're watching the video right now. So here's what I recommend. After the show, join our community Creative Chat Cafe, connect with Manolis, connect with Super Julie. And before we go to that, I just want to do the standard thing, you know, share where you can get information about watching Creative Chat Cafe and get connected with us. You can actually go to the website entrepreneursthatsoar.com. There'll be a tab that says Watch Hangouts, and pull the tab down, Creative Chat Cafe, and you will see all the previous shows. We've logged those information from the shows onto the blog pages. And then you can also go to our our YouTube channel, Entrepreneurs That Soar, and there is a playlist in there named Creative Chat Cafe 2014. As you can see, these are all our previous shows. You can catch up there. And join us on Google+. We have a community called Creative Chat Cafe. Join us for post-show conversations. Introduce yourself, make announcements, you know, include any kind of information that are valuable to our community. So let's get Super Julie right here to share her information first so that you can connect with her. So Super Julie, go ahead.
Sure thing. It is superinterns.com, right below here, and just reach out to us. Whether you want an internship or you need interns, we can help a variety of people. We also help people who are looking for work. Very often people are looking for jobs and they're wondering, you know, how come no one ever hires me? Well, we pretty much know why within about 5 minutes. We can coach you. Yeah. We can coach you, and we can help you really get your career back on track. And so we have those services as well.
Thank you, Super Julie, for coming on board and joining us. Manolis, let's hear, how would you like your audience to connect with you?
Sure. So I'm very heavily involved in social media. As you can see, my Twitter handle is @realitycrowdtv. So definitely hit us up on Twitter. And our website is realitycrowdtv.com. We have past shows that we have on our episodes tab. We have free education with PowerPoint presentations and past videos that we've done. And I broadcast my email and phone number right on my site. Feel free to call anytime.
Thank you for joining us, and I'm so happy that you came on board Creative Chat Cafe and talk about crowdfunding. All right, folks, as usual, we'll see you next week, Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, at the next Creative Chat Cafe. I just want to take this opportunity to thank our co-hosts and guests, Super Julie Braun and Manolis Spinarolakis. Thank God I didn't butcher that. But thank you for joining us. It's been a great show, great content, and looking forward at the next Creative Chat Cafe next week, Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day and have a creative, productive week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.